Well, hello there, and so excited to be here today. I'm jumping on as I just released a new newsletter onto LinkedIn, the first actually of the Marketeers Design Thinking Bud. And if you didn't catch it, you can subscribe to that. But the reason that I jumped on today is that I really wanted to just go over some of the content that I had covered because I know that this is the time of year where you have all been planning and anticipating what you would like to do next year, which is super exciting. And I'm sure it's full of possibility and potential. Now, in our brief time together today, I wanted to cover off how to make that end of year review as efficient as possible and as productive as possible. And that's why I've labeled the newsletter the best end of year review and the death of herding cats. Because I don't know about you, I've never actually tried to do this. And I do have friends who have cats. And from what I have noticed is that it's really difficult to actually get them to do what you want them to do. And so sometimes end of year reviews and planning can be a little bit like that. So during our time together, I wanted to share the power of pushing pause before fast forwarding into the planning. And so, really wanted to spend a bit of time of, how do we interrogate what is actually going on? And how do we get to really like the heart of what's going on from the perspectives that are really important in the room? And then the other aspect of that is, once we know that, how do we define success? And so, once we have that really strong foundation, that puts us in a really great position to be able to, move forward and to be able to do our planning. And also just kind of have everybody involved in a really great way that is productive, where everybody's voice is heard, and that you're in a really good place to make decisions. So before I kick off with that, I wanted to share with you a few apocryphal tales, not too many, of why it's important for us to do that before we launch into our end of review planning. And one of the stories that I love to tell, and it's an apocryphal tale, but really it makes the point, and that is around the space pen. So if we think about the space pen, there was a commission to have a pen that wrote in space. And the reason that was commissioned is because it was deemed that we needed, the special qualities of being able to write in anti gravity conditions. And so billions of dollars were invested to create this wondrous pen. And, a lot of resources, human power, financial power, intentionality went into creating it. And so by the end of it, this wonderful pen was indeed created, and it can be bought. I'm not sure exactly what the price is nowadays, but I think it's pretty nominal. You too can have a space pen within your stationery closet. And later on, when it was revealed that this glorious pen was created, people looked at it and, it didn't receive the excitement that was anticipated. And in fact, somebody said, well, had we gone up into space, we would have used a pencil. And so, this is one of the reasons that I've put together this short live just to kind of illustrate how important it is as we're looking forward to have a moment of reflection, to look and see, what is it that we're really trying to solve for as an organization, as a team, maybe as an individual. What is it? What is the heart of what we're trying to get to? So that's one way in which, when we don't push pause, that can cause issues for us. And now the other story is the one about the six blind men. And so this is again to illustrate the point. So the six blind men, they were each describing an object, and they were each describing it with, very vividly about this object and, what it felt like. And somebody said, this really feels like a wall. And the other person said, this feels like a snake. And the other person said, this really feels like a rope. And so on it went. And later on, it was in fact revealed that they were all touching an elephant, but from different perspectives. So when we think about cross functionality within your organization, whether it's across departments or even just thinking about perhaps, within a team that has different experiences and different areas of genius, thinking about those different perspectives that they can bring to your end of year reviews and end of review planning, and how important it is to actually get those perspectives so that you can in fact see the elephant. So our metaphors or our reasons for being on this live today is that we're not in the business of creating space pens, and we really want to be able to see the whole elephant. And so that's why there are a couple of tools that I have been using for many years. And I've got Tim Herson to thank for that in his book, Think Better. So we can thank him. And I highly recommend reading the book and highly recommend applying all of his tools to your problem solving, opportunities and challenges. And so the two that I would like to share with you today, as I mentioned, which is that push pause, in fact. The first one is, to really interrogate what's going on so that you make sure that you're solving for the right challenge and that you make sure that you're getting the perspectives in the room and that you have enough groundedness in the challenge, but that there's enough aspiration to also move forward. So it's a great medley. It's a great dish of the two. For those of you that know me, you know that I love food metaphors. So it's all coming out right now, especially in this festive season. And then let's move forward. So beyond that, let's get right into it. Oh, actually, the second part of it is once we've discovered what's going on, we really want to understand what success looks like. Because as you're generating your plans, as you're, collaborating with your teams, I'm sure that there is not a lack of ideas of what you could be doing in the following year, but just kind of knowing that you've got it in your hands, or you knowing that you're going in the right direction is so important. And that's why we like to define success. So as I mentioned, I have posted about this in the newsletter. So you can read it there and you can look at the diagrams and you can jump on those and take them straight into your meetings. But today I just thought I'd take a moment to describe it to you, just in case you're processing in a different way, because we all have different ways of processing. All right, so let's get right into it. So when we want to think about what's going on and we really want to get to the heart of what the challenge is, we are going to ask ourselves 5 key questions, and we're going to generate a list of possibilities under each question. And after that, we're going to make a decision about which one is most important for each question. And those ingredients will go to form our challenge. Those will give us the lay of the land, and those will give us that spectrum of thinking around the problem and what's really going on. And so if that sounds like a lot, just hang in there with me, and I'm going to share with you the 5 key questions and give you a little bit more detail around that. So the first question that we want to ask ourselves right at the beginning, and it might seem really obvious, but what's the itch? So what's going on? What's going wrong? What's not going quite as well? Where is that migraine? What's keeping you up at night? What could be better? And so the invitation is either with yourself or other key stakeholders, or even with the team. We've done this with sales and marketing teams. Each individual posits what the itch is and what's going on. And you'll find probably at this stage that there are some things that come up that seem really similar to one another, and there are other things that come up that are a little bit different. So the idea is just to have everybody's voice heard at this point and to generate an expansive list of what's going on. And over time, you'll start to see clusters within that. And once you've done that, we need to make a decision about what is the one important thing, what is the big thing that if we solve for it would have like a massive impact on our organization, massive impact on our team. So the first question is around the itch, like what's going on, what's not going quite as right. The second question is what's the impact? So imagine that we're stepping into the future and that we've solved for this challenge or this itch or this migraine. How would life be different? How would your life be better? How would the organization's life be better? What would be different if it was resolved, if you resolved the challenge? So, what's the impact of solving the itch? The next question is, what's the information? So what additional information do we need to know around this area? So, what's causing it? What don't you know? What do you know? What do you want to bring to the table right now? What do you want to air out? Don't keep it in. So, we have all of that generated. The next question is super important, and that's who is involved. So when you think about this challenge, who are the people who are affected by this itch or this challenge? Who are the people who are positively affected? Who are the people who are negatively affected? Who are the people who are advantaged or disadvantaged if things stay the same or if they change? So we're really getting to the heart of, who are the key players with regards to this itch. And then finally, when you're thinking about this and you're getting into a dreamlike state, what do you wish? What's the dream? So you might want to complete or have the individuals in the team complete the following sentence. So, if only, or I wish. These are some prompts that you can use. So, as a recap, the 5 columns that you're generating by yourself with your stakeholder or with your whole team are the following questions. So, what's the itch? What's the impact of solving that itch? What's the information? Who's involved? And what's the dream? And as I mentioned, so at this point, you're generating, but now you imagine, like from a whole room of individuals, you're just getting that full spectrum of information. And then this gives you the opportunity to make some decisions, to choose what is the one or two things that are super important within each column. And that's not to say that the things that you've written down, that some of them aren't important, but if everything is important, then nothing is. So we need areas of focus to pursue our planning, to pursue our end of review. And so this is your chance to make some key decisions. And this is really where the key stakeholders will be making them. And this is where, the clustering will be super important because you'll probably see a lot of overlap, even from individuals in different departments and different perspectives. So once you have that, once you have your 5 core ingredients, these become the building blocks and these become the ingredients for you to formulate your challenge question or your area of focus. So you're going to be generating a challenge question that might start like, how might we? And you're going to be using the ingredients, one from each column, to create that Frankenstein sentence. And if you're doing this with a group, you might have different combinations. That's totally fine. By this point, you'll be voting on the one that you all resonate with really well as a group, or maybe it's a combination of a couple. And that is a great way within as a cross-functional group to be able to garner everybody's learnings, garner everybody's perspectives, have everybody's voice heard, but have it in a super structured way that you can move through pretty fluidly so that we don't get stuck. And so this is the first offer. This is the first tool for your end of review. Now, once you have that, now we want to go into what does success look like? We want to have some defining principles for success so that as we start to generate our plans, we're able to look at all of our posits and say, these perform really well against our success criteria. And these like, they sound really wonderful, but actually they're not going to meet us where we need to be strategically. So, okay, we're going to, you've done this once. And so now you are ninjas at doing this. And there are just another 5 different questions to ascertain success criteria. And as I mentioned, this is from Tim Herson in his book, Think Better. So I'd highly recommend that you check it out. And, there's just such a bevy of tools within that you can be using. So let's have a look at success. What does success look like? So there are 5 key questions that you want to be asking yourself. So the first one is, what does our solution need to do? When all is said and done, what does our solution need to do? And then after that, what are the restrictions? What are the do not pass go, do not collect 200, go straight to jail? What are our restrictions in terms of our solutioning? And after that, what is the investment that we're willing to make? And so when we think about investment, we're thinking about, people power, we're thinking about finances, we're thinking about energy. What are some of the restrictions? What are some of the guardrails that we want to put in place for our solution? What values do we want our solution to have? So when all is said and done, and we think about our organization or our team or ourselves as humans and our purpose and the way that we stand in the world, what are the values that we want to have represented within our solution? And then finally, what are essential outcomes? Like, what are our specs? What are just some nuts and bolts that we need to get out onto the table? And once again, as I mentioned, if you're doing this by yourself, you'll be generating an expansive list, or as a couple of stakeholders. Maybe you're the founders, maybe you're the leaders of the marketing team or the innovation department. Equally, you might be a cross-functional team of marketeers, operations, sales. Either way, we are generating the list. We're having everybody represent their thoughts. That way we're getting, all the perspectives. We're going to get to see the whole elephant. And then we're making choices, right? That's the rhythm when we're making choices. So by the end of this, you should have, 5 success criteria, maybe 6 at a push. But now you have your guiding principles. So there you have it. This is a very short and sweet live. If you would like to go back over, go check out the Marketeer Design Thinking Bud. So that's the LinkedIn newsletter that I just posted about yesterday. And within that, they have all the prompts. You have the different directions. There's beautiful diagrams, if I don't mind saying myself. And you can use that as a template for your next planning meeting. And I can say that, when I was at Disney, we use this cross-functionally across teams. So whether we're working with Imagineering, whether we're working with sales and operations, we've used this with synergy partners. So if you can imagine, you've got 2 different organizations looking to embark forward to work on a project with one another. And so how do we keep the essence of this brand that is joining us and keep the essence of Disney, and keep our objectives aligned, find that area of collaboration so that we can really create that magic with one another. So this is an invaluable tool to get the grounding of what's going on with regards to your challenge, as well as to define what success looks like. I'm really excited to hear from you, to let me know, as you try this out, what's working, what have been some of your success stories, where were you before you used this tool, and what benefit did you find once you implemented on this tool. So there you have it. Thanks again, and looking forward to seeing you next time.